What one can do. Unless you are a lawyer, you likely don't know very many court cases by name. There is one, however, that is such a significant case that a celebration to commemorate its 10th anniversary was organized last week on the steps of the Supreme Court building in Washington, D.C. The case is known as Heller versus D.C., which culminated in the landmark Supreme Court decision that defined the wording of the Second Amendment to mean that individuals, you and I, have the legal right to keep and bear arms. We know we have the God-given right to self-protection, but the Heller v. D.C. case was the process to put into place the legal firewall limiting the government's power over individual citizens. The 10th anniversary celebration honored Mr. Dick Heller, one man who had determined to bring his case forward to be heard, and I am beyond proud to have been one of the speakers at such an historic event. That but for one dissenting vote would not even have been. At the time, the Supreme Court judges were tied 4 in favor and 4 against, and one person, the late Justice Antonin Scalia, tipped the scales for freedom. And that is what I want to talk with you about today, what one can do. When you listen to the political elite, the people who live and breathe to restrict our rights, you will hear them pointing to the government as the source of all protection and power. They use phrases that discourage individuals from realizing how much influence we have, you and I. They constantly try to reinforce this notion that ordinary citizens really don't matter, except, of course, to line their pockets with our hard-earned tax dollars, but that's another topic for another day. They insist that were it not for them, we would be poor, helpless, lost souls wandering aimlessly in a vast and lawless wasteland. And sadly, when you listen to your friends and neighbors, you will hear many of them who have bought into that nonsense. You will hear how defeated they are, repeating things like, "I'm just one person. What difference can I possibly make?" Now, I know you don't believe that. We know that history was made one person at a time. By one person offering a vision to his or her circle of influence, it empowered another individual to do the same, and on it goes. Now, we do sometimes forget that, me included, or we are afraid to be that one person because it can be intimidating to speak up. The rights restrictors sometimes appear to be bigger and louder and more numerous than those who love liberty. And those loud, angry voices sometimes threaten to drown out our courage and our resolve. But inside of every patriot, like our audience, Dan, is a soul that strains always toward independence and freedom. And the 10th anniversary celebration was gathered together because of a man who embodies that boldness. This one man spoke up for others who had become frozen. He decided to be that one person who would protect and defend the rights we all share, and in doing so inspired all those who came alongside to offer him help in his quest. He determined that he and we would not ask for permission to be free. As you know, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and I'm a grandma, and everything I do is rooted in those things. What we do in our lifetime reverberates forward to all future generations, and when we invest ourselves in not only being educated, but involved in protecting and preserving all of our constitutional rights, and then instilling those values in the next generations, we are forming and placing strong and sturdy bricks on the pathway connecting the past with the future. and our children and our children's children can walk sure-footed ever on toward freedom. So, the Second Amendment. That is the front guard of freedom and all other rights, our constitutional rights, our human rights, and our civil rights. The Second Amendment is that important, and it must be protected, preserved, and restored for this and all future generations. And each and every person who is invested in that endeavor should be and will be celebrated. Not the least of which is Mr. Dick Heller, the dude as he calls himself, which is his playful reminder to all of us that he is just a dude, a regular guy, just like the rest of us, and to encourage us in that, because his is the story of what we, in our ordinariness, in our singularity, can do to make a stand and change the world when we remember what one can do. Dan?